I'm looking at some meter move on the Elgato screen here. Oh, I think that means it's working. 'Cause the meter disappeared. I said it working instead of it's working. So I'm gonna mill around for a couple minutes here, see if anybody pops in. If you do pop in, feel free to speak in the chat so I don't feel lonely. I got a decent response on Twitter. People seemed like they were interested in seeing this thing. But who knows what will show up. It's a little late. Hey, there he is. There's Ben. Okay, hi Ben. I'm not alone. I'm assuming that, yeah, YouTube stream VODs come with the chat, right? So, yes, Octopath Traveler. A game I haven't played in a couple weeks here. It's been a hectic couple of weeks, and so gonna be a little bit out of practice, gonna forget some of the things about it. Mostly, I'm intending to do Cyrus's Chapter 2 today, and I only vaguely remember his Chapter 1. I think he's looking for, like, a book that was stolen from the college library or something. It's probably in the journal, isn't it? Where is he? Yes, missing book from the far reaches of hell. So yeah, he's looking for a book, basically. He's also, his characterization is that of the, this kind of book smart, but not street smart, kind of oblivious to people's feelings. So, Ben, you say kind of forgettable is kind of the impression I'm getting from your comment there. That's, I think, fair. I think the way that the way that the stories don't necessarily build on each other directly and immediately can make the fact that there are 8 stories a little difficult to juggle. So if you are going like around in a circle and doing all 8 chapter 1s and all 8 chapter 2s, coming back to a character is going to be, you know, it's going to require a little bit of remembering. And then, you know, taking several weeks off doesn't help. I think, let's see, if I remember right, my progress is such that I've done most of the chapter 2s. I still need to do Ulbrich, Cyrus, and Honnet, but I think that's it. Saving Honnet for last because she's my main party leader, and I wanted to do her last for some reason. Which means I'm going to totally have forgotten pretty much everything about her story. Anyway. Yeah, I've comments to make about the structure of this game and the quality of it. I think it's a good game. I don't think it's great. Yeah, I feel like, you know, when you're juggling 8 characters, you know, maybe there's 1 or 2 or even 4 characters you're really interested in and want to see through. 8 characters is a little much, and that's, since it's the whole selling point of the game, it's a little unfortunate that it's a little much. I definitely don't blame anyone who would not see it all the way through. Whatever. So yeah, my goal today is to basically do Cyrus's Chapter 2. And that's a long enough test that I feel like it will demonstrate whether or not streaming is a viable option for me here at my new place. And I'm happy to talk about the game, happy to talk about other things, because this is a stream and that's how streams work. Yeah. why don't I launch into the story here? How many viewers do we have? I don't actually see the viewers with my current window set up. Four watching now. Yeah. Let's get going, just so I can get a move on, and I'll talk about stuff as we go. Let me just double check my party here. Is there someone I can swap in for Tressa? Let's swap Primrose and Tressa, just so I have a little more diversity on my team. I would explain the mechanics of the team building and the job system, but you, Ben, are the only one talking, and you definitely know how they work, probably better than I do. Those level differences, however, that's a fun thing. You probably saw on my Twitter that I fought a Kate that gave a lot of experience, and also got the maximum experience boost from a bewildering dance. So half my party got way boosted, and now, as I'm going through the rest of these Chapter 2s, I'm trying to balance as much as I can to get those lower levels, as much of the spotlight as I can. But since it's got to be Cyrus's chapter, and Ulbricht's next, and then Hanet, you know, I'm going to have two overpowered characters here for the next couple chapters. Let's hear a tale. So you can... My instinct is just to explain how the game works. But Ben, you know how it works. Spoonflaps, the best way to kill a Kate is with a Soul Stone, an Elemental Soul Stone, because those are gonna hit no matter what. So use like a medium or large Soul Stone. I think that's what they're called. And you're pretty much guaranteed to defeat it, which is good. So I have theories, Ben, about why always having your starting character. But let's get this story started. And this is going to be new for me, so I'm going to listen. Yeah, so we left the academy behind to look for this book that was missing. And he wants to know where this very interesting book is. And it's taken him to Quarry Crest. Quarry Crest? Oh, and he was fired. But who cares? He doesn't care, apparently. So he seems to be kind of single-minded to a certain extent. He has his mind on something, either his studies or on his quest, and he just loses perspective on everything else. No, I'm not going to read the text out loud. I'm not that kind of video creator. Okay, so yeah, just tell us the characterization, you know, in no uncertain terms. Sure. Yeah, I do remember a bit in the first, his first chapter, where he was just completely oblivious to the fact that this woman was romantically interested in him. And, ta-da, they are reminding us of that. By the way, I'm going to be drinking a protein shake as we go here. Unrelatable. How am I supposed to relate to this character? See, I think the, ooh, travel banter. Ben, to your comment there, I remember Therion's chapter 2 really bothered me because you had to go, like, steal a thing and then report back, and then steal another thing and then report back. He had to do, like, 3-4 times. It was very repetitive and a lot of meaningless walking around. I'm hoping that they do that less here. Dangerous territory, Cyrus. Alright, so going to Odette's house. Oh, there's a... There we go. Sometimes. That's the house. Yeah, something I've found in this game's story segments is that there are what I've heard referred to in like Tales games as find the cutscene sections, where you just kind of walk around, and if it weren't for the radar, you just wouldn't know where you're supposed to go, because there's no like in-game direction. It just says go to Odette's house.
It's been some time, Odette.
But Ben, don't you see? This game is nothing but that. Because you do 8 separate stories. There is no main storyline. So, to his detriment, many would argue.
You're still here. I guess I'm not suffering from fatigue-induced hallucinations after all.
It's me, Odette, in the flesh. Good to see you as hale and hearty as ever.
And you're as insufferable as ever, no doubt. What are you waiting for? Come in already.
She doesn't sound very happy to see him. I'm putting some pieces together about their past.
How did I know that would be your reaction?
We were practically joined at the hip back in the day. Just watching you go about was fun in and of itself. I always had a hunch you'd end up in trouble with the ladies, but to think it would happen with the princess of all people. Somehow, you've managed to exceed even my wildest expectations.
By expelling me, they hope to protect Her Highness's good name. Needless to say, there's no truth in any of this.
Oh, of course. I'm sure it's all as you say. Her Highness and this Therese are just your pupils. They have no romantic interest in you in the slightest. You're something else, Cyrus. But it's a relief to find your powers of observation are as keen as ever.
Yeah, I think what I'm finding, Ben, is not that the writing is bad, it's bland. I wouldn't call it anus goat cheese, I would call it string cheese. And I eat string cheese for lunch most days, so, I mean, there's a place for it. We just kind of take little bits and pieces.
Well, did you come all this way just to entertain me? If so, congratulations on a job well done.
Save your congratulations for another time.
Yeah, music is goddamn fantastic. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Good to see. Oh, now it's going to be confusing because there's two Bens in the chat.
From the far reaches of heaven.
A cheery title if I've ever heard.
Do I have to call you by your usernames now?
I can tell you that it's a compendium of ancient rites and rituals. Not that I've read it myself, of course.
I know that much. I was hoping you could tell me more.
Not much more. It touches upon necromancy, I believe.
Shocker for a book of that title.
Necromancy?
Necromancy. That said, as to what extent, I know little.
What are you doing up at this hour, English Ben? Big Ben. I appreciate you dropping in, though. Thank you.
A hole?
Naturally.
Most intriguing.
Great.
As you wish.
I see.
Y'all are both really short, my dudes. I'm 6'1". And I don't consider myself tall. Only short people do.
Curious, aren't you?
Males in the UK are short, my dudes. Ben, I didn't become vegetarian until, like, after I basically stopped growing vertically. So you can't blame my good diet. So if I remember right, Cyrus is the one whose investigation ability is tied to level, so I shouldn't have any issues doing the investigation here. Okay, so this is an interesting... Hey, Raki, good to see you. is an interesting or annoying thing. When you're doing these investigation or scrutinizing bits, you'll get information gleaned where the incidents happened. Now, you'll get that information in the details in the testimony here. Happened near the inn. But if you want to go back to that later, here is how you do it. You go to, like, the journal... No, it's inventory. And you have to look for the information in the inventory as if it were a physical object, which is not very intuitive, and it's not sorted by quest or anything. So I don't think that was a particularly logical way to include that information. Anyway, plot important NPCs in the story quests are labeled in green, which makes the process faster, but also makes investigation, and pretty much all of these, a matter of going from point to point to point, connect the dots, rather than doing genuine investigation. Or, like, searching people's pockets if you're stealing things. There's a lot less conscious thought and planning involved. Sewers, okay? Okay, so it's that boarded up wall right next to the inn, probably. And then, yes, he likes to quiz us to see if we are reading the text, basically. Yeah, there's no way to rewatch the party banter, and if you miss a party banter because you didn't happen to have the right characters in your party at the time, no way to go back and get it. So the very scant inter-character relations and conversations in the game, very easy to miss, intentionally or otherwise. Yeah, so they were in the inn, or by the inn, sewers, day and night. Yeah, I feel like, if we're talking about how to improve the game, being able to change your party on the fly and just have it assumed that all the party members are on the road together, so you could do any party banter at any time, and you don't have to go to inns to switch things up, I think would be a lot more convenient. And would facilitate the storytelling. I also think just 8 characters was probably too ambitious. It's a very wide puddle, is the story of this game. Yeah, lack of shared EXP, also, frankly, silly. I think, when I first experienced shared EXP in Xenoblade 1, and I thought, man, this is great. I can just try out all these different combinations. It's so flexible. And then I proceeded to just use Shulk Ride and Charla for the whole game. But in a game with, again, 8 playable characters, having, just a pool of JP that is earned, and you can distribute it to any character that you want. I feel like that would work for JP, and just everyone levels up. And probably get rid of Kate's. No, I already wasn't paying attention. Do I just go in the sewers now? Yeah, it's open. Okay. So yeah, and here's where we get into the kind of the formula of the game. You know, there are 4 chapters per character. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4. Every chapter has the exact same structure. You walk into the town, you start the chapter, you use your like path action like 2 or 3 times in short succession to accomplish a single task, and then you walk into a dungeon and story happens at the end of the dungeon. And you do that 32 times over the course of the game. And again, with a game of this scope, with 8 characters all trying to do their own stories, that structure was a necessary evil to make the, like, workload not unmanageable. To which I would say, smaller scope would probably be the best way to go. Smaller scope, more intricate stories. I'm gonna say, don't divide it by chapter. Don't have start of chapter, end of chapter. Just have all the stories organically flow into one another and you have an ongoing quest log. And this gets into, I haven't been reading his text at all. This gets into kind of how I play video games. And I think this means Octopath isn't necessarily the game for me. It's not the game that I will love forever. I love messing around, exploring in an area with basically no text or dialogue while listening to a podcast. So, replaying Dark Souls and exploring Breath of the Wild, perfect. Entering into a town, starting a chapter that I know will take me about an hour, with a front-loaded story section and then a dungeon, I'm reluctant to start those chapters because I know, I'm going to have to not listen to a podcast and kind of follow along with this mediocre story for a little while, for like 15, 20 minutes or whatever. And just that knowledge that that's what I'm going to have to do makes me less incentivized to start the chapter. Which is part of why I haven't played this game in a couple of weeks. And that's unfortunate. Combat, now that we're actually in combat, I think is very good. I think the job system's a little fiddly. I'm not crazy about the fiddliness. But like, so... Now I'm getting back into how this works. It's good combat. I found when I was playing this kind of off stream, I was thinking, you know what I'd really like is just give me a huge dungeon, like a long, complex dungeon with like multiple bosses and paths, and I don't know, make it a frickin' RPG roguelike or something, because I like exploring dungeons and doing combat and stuff.
Letting the hunt begin.
Don't really have anything with Haunted here. Oh, what? Sure. What do I got? Get rid of that. Don't need it.
I am ready. The moonlight.
Yeah, I'm thinking about grabbing Okami at some point, Ben. However, the Xenoblade 2 DLC comes out in mid-September, and I'm gonna have to play that because that's an extremely good game, and in fact, probably the best JRPG I've ever played. Yeah, Ophelia can't do physical damage for anything. Xenoblade 2 is an extremely good game. Xenoblade 2 is a game that I kind of want to do a series on, but it would be a massive undertaking. So I probably won't. Might stream it at some point, though, if streaming becomes a thing. Anyway, let's explore here. Now, because I'm way over leveled, I probably don't need to worry about super optimal strategy here. Let's see. Man, Xenoblade 2 is so good. Let's see.
Oh, flames, rage, rock.
Letting the hunt begin.
I'll do my best. No, you will not.
So look at me doing a pro strat here. Breaking at the start of a turn, so I essentially get 2 free turns instead of 1. Lets me build up some more BP. Yeah, Ben, I don't know, did the combat ever quite click for you in Xenoblade 2? Because it does not explain its systems very well. I will cop to that, absolutely. But I'm wondering if you know, they ever quite clicked, it might have lasted a little longer for you.
Letting my arrow fly in truth.
What is the logical course of action? Well, the truth left great wind. Thus ends
Xenoblade 2 is so good, other Ben, British Ben, UK Ben. Yeah, absolutely. The combat can feel extremely chaotic in Xenoblade 2. It's you don't necessarily need to really know everything that's happening at every moment, but if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, it can feel overwhelming, for sure.
I'm ready. I need your
I mean, everybody's shouting. It's like, healing halo, and that's not even remotely close to her voice, but yeah, there's a lot of sensory information that could be dialed down in Xenoblade 2. It's weird, because Xenoblade 2, you know, it has a lot of systems, but it actually introduces them at a fairly slow rate, like 1 per chapter. It unlocks quite slowly. It just does not explain things very well in the first place, so you're just kind of fumbling around each of those chapters without really getting a grasp of what it's expecting you to know.
No, you will not. I will not be defeated. Oh, sacred light.
What next?
Do I have any ice? I do have some ice, but I can't aim. Is there a way to choose which enemy a summoned beast attacks? Because I want to use this ice remnant, to hit that salamander, but I don't think it'll do it. It'll go after one of those lightning dudes for whatever reason. Whatever, I didn't need to. It's okay.
Knighthood, bring your shade.
Yeah, and I'll confess, you know, for Xenoblade 2, because that's the game we're talking about on this stream. I don't believe in that smart AI one bit. There were mechanics towards the end of Xenoblade 2 that I never really engaged with. There's like a super mode, basically, that I just didn't really use at any point. Wasn't strictly necessary, but...
What next?
I'm ready. Knighthood, bring your shade. The show is over.
Where was I going? I'll know, no small part of why I want to make Xenoblade 2 videos is because I want to maybe show you that the combat does make sense and it's good.
I need this.
And it's just kind of satisfying to explain, because it's one where I feel like if you have a framework for understanding it, all the little parts kind of fit together in a logical way. But you really do need a kind of a large-scale understanding of it.
I'll not be defeated.
Yeah, I'll use it.
You will not.
Cyrus needs some SP. So I know, like, optimal, oh, you done missed it. I know, like, optimal Bravely Default strategies, and I think Octopath strategies as well, tend to have, like, BP batteries, characters who basically exist to generate BP for other characters, and SP for other characters. That's not typically how I do it, but yeah. Seems like outside the final dungeon, from what I've heard, you can play suboptimally and it's alright. Am I at the boss already? Yeah, basically Xenoblade 2 combat, you do one thing to build up your next meter, to build up your next meter. And so each thing you do builds to the next thing until you finally climax with a 5-orb combo. Let's use...
I am ready.
Everything here seems to be weak to light. Good to know. Maybe I should just, like, bulldoze through Honnet's story. See her to the end, and then maybe call it good. See, I'm not even halfway through the game, and I don't feel like I will see it through to the end.
Yes, that was close.
I will not be thy prisoner. Coming.
Gross.
Darest. Using this.
Ah, man, these guys all have different elemental weaknesses. That's annoying.
Oh, flames, rage, rock.
Well then. No, you will not. I will not be defeated. May the sacred flame shine forth.
I am ready.
Letting the hunt.
I wonder if these salamanders are good capture. I think it's pretty good. I don't need a forest rat in here.
Now, what next? Oh, flames, rage, rock.
What next?
I am ready.
Letting my arrow fly and true.
I'll do my best. Prepare yourself. Yeah. I hope I grow more.
Yeah, I think this is a game that just doesn't really give me a drive to continue. There isn't a sense of discovery so much. You know, there's not a whole lot of stuff to explore. There are a couple optional dungeons, but and the story isn't dynamic enough or interesting me for enough to pull me through. Again, if they gave me just a mega dungeon, that'd be awesome, but anyway, looks like some satanic stuff happening here.
What in the... It couldn't be.
So it's Full Metal Alchemist. Is what you're telling me.
Preposterous! Why, I'll be...
You know, he's calling him like a vampire, but he isn't eating the blood.
Oh!
Well, Ben, those are the real villains in real life, though. You know what game has a villain that I like? Xenoblade 2.
Just a scholar of no particular repute. I was passing through and could not help but notice these odd gemstones. Are they... And these strange glyphs, are they not runes of High Hornburgian?
Are they now?
The tomes of ancient Hornburg were lost long ago. No ordinary scholar would be privy to this knowledge. But how could any self-respecting academic perform such horrors?
I think this is one place where the art style kind of holds the game back, because it's really hard to sell the atrocities that this guy is committing when there's like no blood and it's sprites without faces. You can't really do much interesting with camera work.
They still live, yes? If you know what's best for you.
So I think there have been a couple interesting villains of chapters. Helganish, I think, who you mentioned, UK Ben. If I remember right, that's Primrose Chapter 1 villain, who's just a despicable piece of trash, in part because he's kind of very believable and just very slimy. I also liked Alphen's Chapter 2. Oh, he's a literal vampire, okay. Alphen's Chapter 2, I think, yeah, it's Chapter 2, where it was like a foil to Alphen. You know, someone who is very much a counterpoint to Alphen's ideology. This character, Gideon, could be that, but we only just met him right at the end here, so there's no opportunity to develop. This is the part where we throw a bunch of spells at him and see what happens. Hey!
I am ready.
Yeah, the scam woman. Okay, good.
Listen my arrow flying true.
We'll try this. Ooh. Try the sword. Yeah. Cool.
What next?
Nothing that Cyrus can prey on, though, so he's gonna have to... what can he do? He's already all analyzed. You donate BP. I mean, it's almost like greed is a theme in the game or something. I don't know.
Arrow flying true.
Okay, Cyrus, you can analyze them bones. How about that?
I will not be defeated.
I am ready. I need this power.
Interesting dilemma.
Okay, alright.
I will not be right.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that it does, at least to a certain amount, analyze or explore the theme of greed by depicting it in different contexts. You've got, of the two villains that we talk about, that I've mentioned already, Helganish and the Scam Lady. You know, Helganish is someone who's very upfront about his greed and preys on the physical greed, the greed of the flesh of the townsfolk. His greed is supported by the greed of kind of our basest desires. Whereas the Scam Lady, she is amassing wealth through pretty much the exact opposite way. She is preying on the goodwill of people and making them see her as a savior of sorts rather than as a caterer to their darker desires. That's just me pulling something off the top of my head, having not played those chapters in several weeks while I'm supposed to be fighting a boss here. I'm not fond of the blindness thing here. I wish I had Alphen.
Stay strong.
Let's get Ophelia so she can maybe heal a little bit better.
I will not be that.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly think, oh, this isn't a particularly interesting theme for me. That's perfectly fair. There are absolutely, you know, there are themes that are just not interesting to people, and that's fine. That's why taste is a thing that exists. Vanessa, thank you. Let's get...
Stay strong.
Let my arrow fly and true.
I will not be defeated.
Ben, can you point to a work of literature that you think explores greed in a more interesting way? Because, I mean, again, I think the writing for this game is generally bland, but I'd like to have a positive counterpoint, just so I have a little more to go on.
What next?
Yeah, I think that's another UK Ben. I think that's another good point that the since the villains are basically one chapter long, they don't get to grow and develop, and they're generally not given as much interesting stuff to do. Yeah, Breaking Bad, it wasn't even about the money though in Breaking Bad. It was about the power and the thrill. It was never about the money. I haven't seen Better Call Saul though, so I don't know about that.
What's this now?
Man, I've just got all sorts of debuffs going on here.
I will not be defeated.
Let's get Hunnet all buffed there.
What next? Get coming.
I am ready.
What am I doing here? Lost track. Here we go. Yeah, you can. I would agree. Breaking Bad is, you know, it discusses greed, kind of in a way to discuss other things, though. You know what I mean? You know, Breaking Bad, not just about money and the pursuit thereof, it's about, you know, toxic masculinity and feelings of inadequacy and deep-seated resentment and, you know, the corruption that lies in the heart of man, etc., etc. I don't know, I'm, again, pulling shit out of my ass, having not seen the show in quite a while. And I'm not even going to come close to arguing the Octopath Traveler is as well written as Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad is a nuanced show with a lot of layers that all kind of come on top of each other. Octopath Traveler, at least from what I've seen, has discussed greed in isolation and is showing various forms of it. Which is, you know, it's a thing, it's an approach. It's not entirely uninteresting. It's not Breaking Bad, but that's okay. Very few things are. Just get...
I need this.
I will not be defeated. Oh, sacred light.
What is the logical course of action?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously it's hard to not compare things to the things we love. Because I'm comparing this game to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, one of the greatest games of all time. No, I'm not taking that back.
Letting the hunt begin.
Yeah, battle system's great, isn't it? Love it. Extremely good. Unable to steal. Eat butts. Let's give Hana some buff here. Don't got max BP, but it'll do.
Watching my blade dance.
I will not be defeated.
Now, my focus is unparalleled.
It's okay not to like things. Again, I'm not super hot on this game. I think it's good.
I'm counting
I don't think it's okay. Oh yeah, Team Plasma. Team Plasma is good. Or Plasgood for short.
Stay strong.
Yeah, he's gonna take a while to break here.
I will not be defeated.
an interesting dilemma. How about this?
What next?
Do I have any multi-strike moves for axe? I don't think I do. Axe or sword. Darn.
Better than a snake.
Yeah, I like Team Plasma. It frustrates me that their entire purpose was undercut by the main villain in the last act, but because like, hey, they have a point, and rather than explore the nuances of that point, let's just have the villain not actually believe it. It's kind of the Black Panther school of cop-out, where they have a legitimate grievance, and then they just make the villain absolutely absurd to distract from that.
I am ready.
Do I still have the... Can I boost? Yeah, I can boost. Your skills. There we go. Okay.
I will not be defeated. Oh, sacred light.
Letting the hunt begin. Holding back nothing.
There we go. All right.
I honor you, my foe.
I didn't even get a level up out of that. Boo. Oh, and they're not actually dead, so there goes the consequences.
What's in the...
Okay, there's multiple copies? I thought it was like a one-of-a-kind tome, but okay. Yeah, N is good. N's a good character. Okay, alright. I'll accept this lesser copy as an alright plot point to get to the next one.
Aha!
So I think when it comes to story, the closest comparison I can make for Octopath Traveler is actually kind of a Dungeons and Dragons campaign with, you know, an assortment of various characters traveling together, each with their own desires and stories and goals, and occasionally you'll pop into a town that has something to do with one of those characters' goals, and the story kind of shifts to that character. The crucial difference between Octopath Traveler and Dungeons and Dragons and other tabletop role-playing games is that there's a much more personal connection to a character when it's a character that you wrote and created, and it's their goals are the goals that you came up with. Here, we're being... And there's just so much more party interaction in Dungeons and Dragons as well. So this is kind of a watered down version of that format.
Come now.
This is also true. This is also true, Millet. Yeah, and you create the story in D&D. Here, side quests occasionally have two options that you can choose from, so that's neat. But on the whole, you're being kind of funneled through someone else's D&D campaign, where there's no chemistry between the characters. Hey, you folks chose to take Peeves as the pet, okay? I presented the opportunity, you took it.
What was that?
Thusly, indeed.
Yeah, we have. We've been doing this 10 years. Melantis recognized that it has divination magic. And still said okay.
My gratitude.
Like, I don't know what Melantis thinking there. I mean, you do you, obviously, but...
Aha! Which means that
That's true, that's true.
yes.
Yeah, something to remember when debating about video games as art. First off, yes, obviously, but also, not all art is created equal. Some art has more to it than other pieces. I guess I managed to have a good party composition for this, because I got 3 party banters out of here. So that was the end of the chapter, right? Chapter over? Oh, no, there's still a green thing.
You're still here.
Oh, right, we have to do the farewell, because there's always a farewell.
I am, but not a moment longer. Thank you for everything, Odette. I am in your debt.
You helped out a little here. What say we call it even? Be safe, Cyrus. I have a hunch you're poking around in something far more sinister than either of us can imagine.
I mean, we've already got people making magical crystallized blood, so I mean, that's pretty sinister.
I am well aware of the danger. I will exercise due caution.
New place is great. I got the master bedroom, so I got bigger room, my own bathroom connected straight to my bedroom, walk-in closet, little kind of office here, which is where I'm set up. It's dope. Much closer to my work than my previous residence was to my previous place of work. A little bit away from the hustle and bustle, but not too much.
That I did.
Close to the mountains, close to trails, but still very drivable towards Seattle. It's good. I mean, there's always a honeymoon period, I'm sure, but I'm quite happy with it.
Do you believe two incidents are connected somehow?
No, I just like spouting valedictorian obligatory trivia. But now that you mention
I like Odette. It's a shame we'll probably never see her again.
the disorder following the incident would offer a convenient opportunity to misappropriate an article from the archives. Wouldn't you say?
Your insight is invaluable and appreciated. I will keep this in mind.
I mean it, Cyrus.
So I haven't thought too hard about the virtual console service and online service. I think the real question is how many titles are going to be available, how many retro titles are going to be available for its kind of Netflix-likey service. Because if it's a garbage selection, probably not going to bother. I don't have any games that really demand online play, because I have Mario Kart 8 for Wii U still. That person looks suspicious. Never got Splatoon of any sort. Not gonna get Smash Brothers. So really, it's all about them retro games, and it's gonna depend on size of selection. Alright, and that wraps up Octopath Traveler Cyrus Chapter 2. The stream ended up being a little more negative than I intended it to be, but I don't think this is an incredible game. It's a game that I'd like to play around with more, but its structure is such that it doesn't really reward playing around. It wants you to do the story. Anyway, let's save here. And I mean, I got a good 35 hours into it, so even if I stopped playing now, like, if I never picked it up again, that was a decent investment. You know, wouldn't say I wasted my money like I did with some other games. But, anyway, I think that's where we're going to call the stream. I was only intending to do the one chapter. And I got to get to bed because I have another day of work training tomorrow. It'll be fun. So, thank you folks who checked in, who stopped by. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Ben. And I will see y'all probably in the future for streaming a different game. Adios.